Hello, this is Alex Calvo Garcia. You're listening to the Iron Hour podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Iron Hour podcast. It's double trouble this week as we deliver our second episode, sponsored by Best Blanks Wholesale. Myself and Marco are joined today by the new CEO of Scunthorpe United, TV presenter, pundit, and journalist. Have I missed any titles there, Matt?
Yeah, there's a few, but probably not suitable for broadcast.
Straight in line with the genre of our podcast. I like it. So we're planning to have a good chat with you today, Matt. We appreciate your time, and at the end of our conversation, we have some questions from the fans which we'd like to put to you. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. So yeah, thank you for joining us. Obviously, it's been a very, very busy time at the club just lately. How was your journey to becoming CEO come about?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. Obviously, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, to be fair, the last few weeks. I came in to the building last Monday, but obviously I've been talking to the club for quite a few weeks prior to that. So yeah, how did it come to be? Briefly, as you guys know, my career has been in broadcasting in sport, but I've also over the last few years been dabbling in other areas as well. You know, I'd kind of, without boring you too much, I'd got to a bit of a point in my career where I felt a little bit unfulfilled, to be honest, by what I was doing. I felt I had a little bit more to give than just standing there talking about sport, as much as I've enjoyed that job over the years. So I was thinking about ways to push myself into something else. So I went and did a master's in sport directorship at Manchester Met in 2020, and also on that course were sporting directors or people who were wanting to be sporting directors, people from the world of business, football, different sports and stuff. So I built a good network through that, and through that process, I decided that what I really wanted to do was at some point become a CEO of a football club. I didn't really know what the map to that would be exactly. Um, so I just went with what I thought, and I actually went into something called executive coaching, which is not something I was familiar with in the past, but I was lucky to work with a coach when I was doing my course. And really, coaching people was kind of drawing on the skill set that I developed in broadcasting. Yeah, and it was a way for me to get that sense of fulfillment that I'm kind of helping people. So, long story short, some of the people that were on my course with me and through the network beyond that, I started coaching and consulting with, you know, technical directors, sporting directors, CEOs. I started working with Fair Game um, as a governance engagement lead. So I was reaching out to CEOs and chair people in professional football to get their views on what good governance looks like, how the independent regulator could look, you know. So I was doing a lot of work around that, a lot of reading around that. And again, like I said, just kind of building towards this idea of one day, hopefully, getting into a football club. And in the meantime, about 2 months ago, I was recommended by one of the contacts I've been working with to the board here, and they said, look, they went to this person and said, we're looking to appoint a CEO. You know, do you know anybody? They were obviously looking around, speaking to other people as well. And I was recommended to them. So I had a phone call initially. Then I had a Zoom meeting with all four owners. I came in and spent a day here at the club, just having a look around and meeting people and getting a bit of a feel for what the situation was here. And then I did a presentation to the board. I did I killed them with PowerPoint, basically, bored them into submission. But no, I presented a vision of what I felt would be a good roadmap for the club, how we could do that. We know what does sustainability look like and how do we get there, and what I would do in a role of CEO if I was to come in. And ultimately, for me, that means supporting people, helping get the best out of people. I'm not here to go, oh, well, look, I've done this before, and this is how it works, so I want you all to do X, Y, or Z. It's more, all right, what are we doing? What can we do better? What does good look like? And how do we get there? So that's my approach to it. And yeah, and obviously it landed with the owners because that's the situation that we're in. We need to innovate and we need to do things a bit differently and have a fresh perspective on things. And luckily for me, they bought into what I presented to them, and they offered me this incredible opportunity to come in and do this role for the first time. So I'm learning on the job as well, obviously. But my eyes are wide open, and I'm really up for the challenge. I'm so up for it, and I'm just walking around smiling. I'm commuting in from Huddersfield every morning. It's like an hour and a quarter, but I'm smiling all the way here, and I'm smiling all the way home every day. Great.
I mean, you mentioned there you're up for a challenge and you've only been in the role 2 weeks, but it's been pretty, as I said earlier, pretty busy period of time. Obviously, the news that came out of the club earlier in the week, announced on Tuesday, was that Lee Turnbull, head of football, I think with his most recent title, has left the club after his most recent stint of service at the club. What can you tell us about the situation there? Because we've had a lot of questions come in from the fans, kind of with various different questions. So I wonder if you could just give us an overview on what we can learn at this time.
Yeah, I'll be completely open and honest with you. There's nothing to hide. I understand that it came as a bit of a surprise to people, and it wasn't expected. And Lee's a legend, rightly so, here for everything that he's done for the club as a player and in every single role. I think he's done everything over the years here. But firstly, it was a board decision. It wasn't my decision. I don't want people to think that I came in and then a week later I just went, oh, this guy needs to go. It wasn't that. It was a strategic decision that obviously the board had been thinking about for a little while. And it's they decided now was the right time to do it. It doesn't mean that I'm not aligned with that decision, by the way, or that I don't agree with it. But it was a board decision, and it's part of a broader restructuring of how we operate here. And part of my job now is to help the board articulate and carry out, a slightly different way of operating and a vision of being a forward-thinking, innovative football club at this level.
Okay, yeah, we'll draw a line under that and move on to the next phase, which is
Just one other thing that I was going to say about it, because I did see a few comments online and stuff about the wording of the announcement and that
yeah,
contract terminated, and it feels brutal when you see it like
it
that.
really does actually, Matt. Yeah,
Yeah, and I get it, and I understand, and I don't want people to think that there was animosity or bad feeling or the word terminated. It's like it makes you think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but maybe we can read too much into it sometimes. It's just a fact, it wasn't by mutual consent. If we would have said that, it wouldn't be true. If we'd have said he's left the club, that would be vague. And we want to be transparent, and that's as transparent as we can be. We're not sugarcoating anything. Contracts are there to protect people financially. So the simple fact is Lee's contract was terminated because the club had decided to go in a different direction, and the decision was taken out of respect for him to do it now and not drag it out. But yeah, just to reiterate, Lee's been brilliant for Scunthorpe United over the years, and Scunthorpe United has been brilliant for Lee as well, and we wish him all the best. And I know from speaking to him that feeling is mutual. I spoke to him on the day, and he said, "Listen, I wish you all the best. I just want to see Scunthorpe do well." So hopefully he's got his feet up somewhere sunny now, because he's earned that, and I'm sure he'll be back in the game soon, and he'll always be welcome back here.
I'm sure I'll be working on that suntan. Now we've got a lot of time for him on this podcast, and I know a lot of fellow Iron fans have as well. So
Rightly so, rightly so. He's a good guy.
as you say, we move on though to the new world, and things look different structurally. Going forward, how does the split of football responsibilities look in a post Lee Turnbull world?
Yeah, so when anybody leaves any position, obviously the question is how do you cover that gap? So there are certain aspects of Lee's role that he was doing that Andy will step up to, and that's another important thing about the longer term vision is we want to give Andy the room to grow, and that's not to say that Lee was impeding that or that he wasn't helpful to Andy, but yeah, he will step up and cover some of those areas. John too, and and the rest of the coaching staff. The key area probably that Lee was covering that we need to now cover is in recruitment. So as we look further into the future, I think, as you know, we've got some short-term recruitment processes already underway that Lee was a big part of, and hopefully we'll have some news on those in the not too distant future. But as we look further ahead, we need to plan for the summer. We need to plan for beyond that, and we want to find a competitive advantage over our rivals at this level. So we've started the process of appointing a head of recruitment. And we want to appoint somebody who we think can give us that competitive advantage, and we'll have some news on that in probably be a few weeks. But that process has started, and it'll be public because we'll be advertising the role. But yeah, so to answer your question, there will be a new face in the building at some point in the near future to cover the recruitment. We're looking at our scouting network as well, and then other areas of what Lee was doing before will be picked up by a combination of Andy, John, myself, and the board.
And Andy had kind of alluded that to that on the BBC Radio Humberside interview he did yesterday. Another thing he said, which jumped out to me, was that he will directly report to you. So I'm thinking of this structure where a head of recruitment slips in, and where that kind of fits into you, as if Andy's reporting direct to you, who reports to the head of recruitment.
Well, it's a collaborative process. It's not a case of necessarily who reports to who. And like I said, my approach is not to sit at the top of a tree, if you like, and dictate to the people below me. So the head of recruitment will be a club appointment, but it will be done in consultation with Andy. So this person needs to be able to work with Andy. They need to have a good relationship, and they will be tasked with finding the profile of player that he wants. We have an idea of how we want our squad to look, but in terms of playing style and profile of player, it's really important that we're recruiting for what Andy wants to do, because he's our guy, he's our coach. We believe in him, and we want to support him. So yeah, so the head of recruitment will be, as I said, it'll be a club appointment. So I guess they would, if you want to put it like that, they would report to me, but they'll be working alongside Andy, collaborating with him. And yeah, as I said before, my role is to support those guys as well. It's not to tell them what to do; it's to give them what they need to do the best job they can.
Max, one of our panelists on this podcast, he and I had commented previously that a good CEO at this level is probably someone who ensures bills are paid on time, staff are relatively happy, the club thrives and grows within the community. What does a good CEO look like to you?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think I've touched on it already, to an extent. A good CEO to me is somebody who sets the culture and the values at the club, who role models those values. And for me, what that looks like here is a culture of collaboration, of innovation, and learning. That we want to be a place that makes people better, whether that's players, coaching staff, anybody who works in the building. It's what do we do and how do we do it better, and how do we all become better? And I think if we do that, we're going to attract good people here in the future, because everybody wants that, I believe, or they should want that. Right now, you could say that in the National League North, the commercial revenue that we get coming in, and the size of the facility and everything that we've got, we should be doing well by proxy, like on the pitch, we should be doing well. But we have to look at every area of how we increase revenue around the club, and how we do business, and hopefully we're going to go on a journey back up the leagues again. That's everybody's intention here, and having an innovative culture where we can compete against clubs with bigger budgets, which is ultimately what we're aiming to do. That's going to be massively important. So it starts now, So yeah, so I think, like I said, I think a CEO sets the culture and the values of the place, and then supports everybody else to be their best version of themselves, and yes, obviously, running a tight ship and making sure that we're commercially viable is fundamental to that too.
We're recording this Friday morning, mid-morning.
Yep.
At this moment in time, the club have announced Luke Williams on Thursday night. That was announced. We take it, based on what Andy Butler said again in his BBC Radio Humberside interview yesterday, that the club is also close to announcing another player. Who knows if that will be out by the time this podcast is out. What can you tell us about that situation? And crucially, can we expect anyone else in the building in the short to immediate term?
Yeah, so we've hopefully by the time this comes out this evening, there'll have been some news. I can't give you that news right now because it's not completely done yet, but we're very, very close to making an announcement. I think it's going to be a signing that will get people excited, and it's something that Andy's been, as you said, he's been public that it's the kind of profile player that he wants. So yeah, hopefully we can get that over the line. And in the short term, we're always in the market, and I think with the way that our squad is right now, with a summer coming up where pretty much everybody's out of contract, we need to look at how we do things. So it's not going to be necessarily the end of the business that we do between now and the summer, but it's definitely in the short term the priority. It's like that box is ticked now, and we're happy. Andy's really happy with the squad that he's got. This is just this one area that he felt we could really strengthen, and the board have been able to support that. So that's great. And yeah, like I said, hopefully by the time people are listening to this, they'll know who that is, and it's done. And yeah, we're pulling out the stops to get him available for and get him registered for the game tomorrow. But with it being the FA Trophy, we have to do that by midday. So it's a little bit tricky, but we're trying to get it done in time.
Here's hoping. Marco, are you ready to fire over some questions from the fans?
Yeah. So I've been pretty quiet. So I've got a couple of questions. The first one being from it's off X or Twitter, is from Simon Seffers, who asks, obviously this has changed recently as well, and he just wanted to know if there was any change or if there was any progress in the match day catering at Glanford Park on match days.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is one of the things that was kind of on my desk on my first day, which was I wasn't really expecting, but
listen, we need them burgers, mate. We need good food.
You tell me what you want. I mean, this is the thing, and when you're talking about what's a good CEO do, I think it's having open dialogues with people as well and listening to people. And I'm very much, especially at this stage of this role, I really want to know. I want to hear from people about what works and what
the word chips will come up a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
All right, yeah, no, that's fine. Listen, I want to genuinely want to hear what's working for people. We can look at the numbers and say, right, well, we've tried this and this works. It's an interesting one for me because I'm very much of the view that we want to be, obviously we need to be a sustainable club, and we need to be commercially successful to fund what we do on the pitch ultimately. So you could look at a certain product that has a good profit margin in it when you sell it, but maybe it's not from like a local supplier, for example. I want to work with local businesses and local suppliers as much as possible here, and make this club a hub of the community, and a force for good in the town and surrounding areas. And part of that is working with local suppliers and getting good quality products that people are going to want to buy. But and then it's balancing that out with what's your profit margin. So we can see what the response to things is by looking at numbers. Bear in mind, I've only been in post for one match day, but I'm sure fans have noticed that the offering is sort of slightly different week to week as we try to work things out. But what I would really like to do is work out a proper, consistent plan. And not have to worry about how many burgers we need to order this week or how many foot-long sausages are in the fridge.
Never enough foot-longs, mate, let me tell you. Never enough.
So then I've got another question off Tom Snowden, again off X. And he asks, how can we be looking at generating additional revenue in the absence of TV money that we previously had in the EFL? Also, are there any short and long-term goals that you have already set for your job role?
Okay, well, in terms of revenue and all sorts, when you look at this place, effectively we're multiple businesses or potential businesses under one roof. We're a venue, we're an events business potentially. We've got a fantastic bar, the Iron Bar. We've got a captive market as well of 3,500-4,000 people that come here every week, so they know what it's like to come here I'd like to start giving them reasons to come here more often between games. We've got 2 kitchens here, you know, so we're a catering business as well. So there's lots of possibilities at local level. And then we have to look at how we market ourselves and how we understand what people want, which again comes from having an open dialogue with the fans, who are our most important stakeholder. It's no use me coming up with an idea for a Mexican night because I like Mexican food and nobody else does. So it's, yeah, again, really important that we listen to people about what we're offering, and there's potential partnerships that we're looking at as well in terms of data, you know, analysing data, what people buy, what people don't buy. We need to up our game on a digital media side as well in terms of selling products through the club shop and stuff like that. So there's all of that, and you know, externally as well, there's a whole world of digitally engaged football fans out there that can provide revenue to a club like Scunthorpe if we tell our story in the right way, right? So we don't have a TV deal, so how can we use that to our advantage? You know, it's actually quite liberating when you think about it in terms of video content. We can tell our own story, not rely on others to tell it for us. You know, we're not doing anything with this yet, but obviously the American market, they lap this kind of stuff up. So, you know, if we could get subscribers to video content on a paid model, that could have a significant impact on our overheads here. So, you know, across the board, I want us to think about what we do have rather than what we don't have, and what we can do rather than what we can't do. And it's important also to say that everything we do manage to do on a commercial level and raising revenue is to invest in the performance of the team on the pitch, right? This is not a business that's designed to make a profit for shareholders. It's designed to have success and create a better product on the pitch, and that's ultimately the goal for everything that we do on a, you know, revenue wise.
Yeah. Sky Sports will be another one that gets chucked at you a lot, Matt. I can tell you now. Sky Sports and chips.
No, honestly, the first after that first phone call that I had with the owners here, and they said, you know, would you be interested? And I was like,
have you got Sky?
Have you got Sky? Yeah. No, I came
Well, you're a TNT man, clearly. Eurosport. Have you got Eurosport?
If it was Eurosport, that'd be all right. I could clear it. I know people. Yeah, no, I came to a game and I went into the Iron Bar, and I think it was some like property program or something that was on the TV, and I was like, what the hell?
Homes Under the Hammer, mate. Famous.
Yeah, which is,
we were there.
There's a time and place for Homes Under the Hammer.
And you're saying it's not 2 p.m. on a Saturday?
And it's not 2 p.m. on a Saturday or 5 p.m. on a Saturday. That's obvious. And I think Michelle's been, I think she said this at the fans forum the other week. We've got a significant legacy debt from the previous owners to Sky. These are the chats. So right. So
yeah, this is it.
Yeah, we've got a massive debt to Sky that we need to somehow either settle or renegotiate. And I'm on with that. That's an ongoing thing. It's not like I haven't parked it. We're tackling that. And one of the things, so Sky said to us, how many Sky boxes have you got in the building? And I think they told us that they reckon we've got 13 boxes or something amongst like hospitality units, the Iron Bar and the boardroom. And so myself and Glyn Sparks, we had the fun task the other day of going around and finding all the boxes. And it turns out 3 of them were in the ceiling in the boardroom. So it's like 5 p.m. on, was it Monday this week? I think earlier in the week anyway. And me and Glyn are up a stepladder with a torch, getting covered in dust and cobwebs because we're trying to find where the skyboxes are. So
life comes at you hard, Matt. Let me tell you, you was on TV just a couple of months ago, in a dusty loft poking around.
Yeah. Hey, look, yeah, I'm not complaining, but yeah, that's this guy. And we recognise the value of that as well because we want to get people in the bar. We want to increase the fan experience is a massive part of what we need to improve on and build. So yeah, we'll get Sky back. It's just a matter of how we do it, and hopefully it won't be too long.
We know you're a busy man. You're pressed for time, Marco. Have you got room for just one more question?
I'm all right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll pile them in then. Just keep them coming.
My next question is from, again, it's Mr. Hayes. saying, do you foresee a rise in fan ownership and involvement within football? And also, do you believe that a 51-49 model to be a healthier option to rather than 100% fan-owned? What sort of decisions do you believe members should vote on, and which should be left to the board? It's a big question.
Well, considering your employer is 4 people, I think I know the drift that this will go, Matt.
Well, we are, when you put it like that, we are 100% fan owned, aren't we?
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate to be in that position. So it's not a model that, like, say, AFC Wimbledon have, for example, but we are still fan owned, and we need to. I think like the independent football regulator is going to be important to protect a club like Scunthorpe in the future from disingenuous ownership. So needs protecting. So, but anyway, yeah. So we are 100% fan owned, and it's working really well for us at the moment. 50+1 model. I don't know how familiar people are with that, but that's what they have in Germany.
Germany, yeah.
Yeah, so you have effectively German football clubs are sporting institutions. They're like local community clubs, and no private investor can ever have more than 49%.
It doesn't always work out though, Matt. I mean, like I'm a big fan of Schalke, as anyone who listens to the podcast will know, and it has gone terribly for us, like ridiculously bad. It's fallen off a cliff, and the only thing that's keeping us afloat is the fact that we haven't yet been relegated to the 3rd tier. If we do, I really do think that Schalke could go under, and I mean that it's like anything. Depends who's at the top managing it, right?
That's it. Yeah, it depends who your 51% are and who your 49% are. There are a couple of clubs that booked that trend, I think, and they were, I think, if I'm right, it's Wolfsburg, Bayer Leverkusen. You know, Wolfsburg is a Volkswagen. It's a works team, effectively. And Bayer, you know, the big German company, they own Bayer Leverkusen. But yeah, generally speaking, they're 51% fan owned. But what that does do is it restricts investment, and they're not as attractive, and that's why you're seeing the Bundesliga now not being able to compete with the Premier League or La Liga, because there is a limit on, and whatever you think about foreign investment and Saudi ownership and all of that, they're not going to invest in Germany because they can't get full control of the clubs. So I like it. I like it as an idealist and as a football fan myself. I like it, but yeah, it's limited for the reasons that you touched on, Barrow, and also for the investment. It limits the amount of investment you can attract.
So Wolfsburg is effectively a works team. You're saying Nicholas Bentner was a mechanic? Would explain a lot, probably.
Well, hopefully it was better at being a mechanic than scoring goals.
Marco, you got another one for us?
Yeah. So my last one, again, this has been asked quite a few times. Seems quite a few people are interested in your TV career. And it's from Harry Butcher, and he asks, will you be able to carry on with your broadcasting duties coming into 2025? And if so, Iron fans, can we get discounted BSB tickets? And Peter Hamilton asks if your TV work will continue also.
The important questions, getting to the point here on the Iron Hour podcast.
Yeah. So I will still be doing a bit of TV work, but a lot less.
Yeah.
So part of the arrangement here with the owners was, and I think part of what was made it a mutually interesting decision for me to come in here was that clearly they weren't going to go out and get a CEO from a league club who's on an executive salary and bring him here. That's not financially viable. So it gave them the opportunity to go, all right, let's do something a little bit different. In which, so make no bones about it, I'm sure if there was a budget there to go and get a top class CEO somewhere else, maybe they would have done that.
Max will like this. You're effectively saying you're the cheap option.
I am the cheap option. Yeah. But you know, look, that shows that they're innovative too, and they're going, okay, well, like let's do something different. Let's bring a different perspective. How can we do this? You know, one of the things I said to them was, listen, if I can still do a little bit of the TV work that doesn't impact on the role here, then that frees me up salary wise, to come in at something that's affordable and correct for the club and that's responsible, that works for me. Obviously for me the attraction is the opportunity more than anything else. But I've got a mortgage to pay. I've got 3 kids. I have to think about that too. And so if I can continue doing the bike stuff, which I love as well, I do love doing that. Then does that work for everybody? And I think it does. We'll see how manageable it is when it starts next year. But effectively now I don't have a single commitment to TV work until next May, by which time the season will be done. So I'll do the first 5 rounds of the British Superbike Champion. So I'm going to do the British Superbike Championship and the Alaman TT next year. The TT is the first 2 weeks in June, which is out of the football season. Obviously, I'll still be working in and around that. And then the first 5 rounds of the British Superbike season, I think they're all before the next football season starts as well. So there'll be a few weekends that I can't do in the early part of the year, but what we get in return for that makes it worth it for everybody. And also, there's an element of I've got a great network through my work in the TV, of contacts and things like that I can bring here, and I've already started to do that actually. It's potential investment and sponsors. I've never had any reason to leverage that network in the past because I've been doing the TV work there, but now I have an opportunity to make a phone call and go, hey, would you be interested in getting involved at Scunny, or what can we do, or do you know so and so? Can you give me a contact? So there's value to it there as well, and I think that appeals to the owners too, to bring in that extra bit of value.
And finally, we have a question here from an unnamed female fan who wants to know your relationship status. There's a picture. There's a picture doing the rounds of you looking rather dapper and with your microphone in hand. So we have received that question.
Oh, really? That picture must have been taken a while ago then. But I do tend to. So,
oh, you've gone all coy now, Matt. Look at you.
Yeah. I got some Eurosport had us do some publicity shots in 2019, I think it was, and I'd just so happened that was the one year that I did a bit of a fitness campaign. I'd lost about 10 kilos, but I still use those photographs for everything. So when people meet me, they're a bit like, oh, look like what I expected. So I would hate to disappoint that person, but I probably don't look like what she thinks I look like. That's one thing, and yeah, and I am married. Maybe it's my wife trying to catch me out.
You should have probably got that point out first, Matt, actually.
Oh, yeah, sorry. You should have led with that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm happily married, 3 kids, and spending most of my time hiding over here now out of the way. Go back just at bedtime, just tuck them in after all the carnage is over.
Well, thanks very much for your insight there, Matt. You gave us a bit longer actually than you promised, so we do appreciate that for keeping you on a little bit longer and giving us up your valuable time, especially today when I'm sure it's a busy day, the day before a match day. So thank you for coming on the INR podcast, Matt.
It's a pleasure, and yeah, like I said to you at the beginning, it's really important to me to listen to what people want to see here and how we can improve the match day experience for people, the fan experience. I want to see people come in here with smiles on their face and being proud to be associated with this club. That's the long-term goal here, is to tap into that sense of pride and identity that we have here, bring the good times back, and see people smiling around the grounds, hours before match day, eating food, drinking, having a good time, and whatever we can do to make that happen, I'm all ears. If anybody's got any ideas, email me. Matt.roberts@scunthorpe-united.co.uk, and for you guys as well, you've got my contacts as well, so yeah, keep the dialogue going and good luck.
Well, they were the thoughts of CEO at Scunthorpe United, Matt Roberts. What do you think of that, Marco? Enjoy it?
Yeah, I think
Good
it was really
laugh?
positive. Yeah, it was funny at times, which is very unlike you. But no, on a serious note, I thought it was really positive. Look, a word he used a lot was transparent, and that's something the board have repeated a lot of times. Obviously, he ran us through the Turnbull obviously sounds quite damning when he said, "Well, Turnbull termination," and the wording of that, it was just, look, it's a contract, and contracts that don't just fly off into the sunset. It's termination, and it's a restructure. It's where the club are at the minute, and I think he was really informative, and quite interesting to see how he got into the role. It's something we didn't really see coming, but look, I think long term and short term for the club, it can only be a good thing.
The big news coming out of the club this week was Luke Williams re-signing with the Iron after a lengthy hiatus. I think he's played most recently in Iceland. Obvious thing, I mean, the most obvious thing to say, Marco, the injuries are a concern, but he potentially could flip our season on its head, right?
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted yesterday saying I think it could be a really clever signing, a little bit of business. I was at that game at Burton when he got that injury, and it was just like, for God's sake, do you know what I mean? He's one of them players who, before that injury, I mean, I remember not long ago was an England team. They predicted the team for a tournament in the future, and Luke Williams was in it.
So talent, a real talent.
Yeah, he was an absolute. He's a baller. And look, if we can get him at 70%, 80% fit, if we get to the end of the season, look.
But what an 80%?
Yeah, what 20 minutes is the famous Mike Bassett quote. But no, there's no doubt in his ability. And like I said, he looks. I know yesterday's interview for the club, he said he wanted to go to Iceland and get a handful of games. He's done that without injury. Obviously, he's trained at the club for 6 weeks. And I feel like Butler's the kind of guy who, if he's not fit, he won't be at the club now. I imagine our training sessions are pretty ruthless compared to what he was doing in Iceland. So look, if he's gone through 6 weeks unscathed, I think it could be a really astute signing.
Yeah, the thing that stands out for me was, I think it was Shrewsbury, when he was coming back from his injury. He got chucked on about 80 minutes against Shrewsbury, and then he limped off in injury time. And I thought, I'm never going to see that guy in the claret blue again. Like, there's just no way that guy is going to play for the Iron again. And here he is, all these years later.
But look, I think a lot of people have said the same. Last week, probably Aberdeen, when Carl Roberts came off after only playing a couple of games, saying that's it, we won't see him playing football again now. And look, touch wood, he's in mind to win our player of the season. He's scoring goals, he's getting assists. If we can get Luke Williams anywhere near Carl Roberts' level of fitness, and look, them two could be a real threat. Obviously, you normally associate Luke Williams playing with number 10. Is he going to be utilised there? Is he going to, God forbid, change shape? Are we going to play wingers? Who knows? But look, it's better to have options in the door than not.
One thing Butler said on his BBC interview was that Williams enhances that number 8 option. And I think Max made a really good point actually yesterday on BBC Radio Humberside when Max went on, and he said, we kind of see him more as a number 10 really at Scunthorpe. That's certainly how he featured. Do you think, like, is he a different player now? Like, what's he mean, number 8?
Well, look, me personally, I wouldn't like to see him at 8 because I think, especially in recent weeks, Cloonan's been quite exploited in the centre of the pack. I think he's been left to sort of take a lot of flack. But he's playing in the centre of the park with 2 quite attacking-minded players, with obviously Beeston and Carl Roberts at the 10. So a lot's fallen on Robertson. Williams, to me, would be similar to Beeston in centre mid, where he's wanting to go forward and sort of score the goals, get the assists. So look, if Butler sees him at an 8, then so be it. But yeah, like you said previously, we've seen him at 10 or on the wing or definitely even final third. But who knows what he's been doing in Iceland? If he's turned into a midfield maestro.
Maybe, who knows? Comes back a different man. Comes back with a new haircut.
Skinhead.
Listen.
Skinhead. He's going to start flattening everyone. It's the nasty CDM we've been wanting.
Somehow, mate, I can't see it. As we know, by the time this podcast goes out, we'll touch wood. We're hoping there will be another signing announced. If there isn't, then this segment will be edited out. And if there is, then we believe that player is Mark Beck, on loan currently at Gateshead. Is that right? Yeah, on loan currently at Gateshead from Solihull Moors. If that is the player, Marco, a good signing for the Iron?
Yes. It's an interesting one because it's very, very similar, you'd think, to Danny Whitehall. He's only playing in that number 9 role. which for both are. You're not putting White on the wing, you're not putting Beck on the wing. I know Butler's sometimes gone 2 up top this season. But again, they are both very similar. Beck's a proven goal scorer in the National League North. And obviously speaking to Matt just then, he seemed very excited. Obviously, named no names, but if it is Beck, he seemed, and Butler was the same, so it's one he wanted to get over the line. Says that's the calibre of player we should be having here at the club at the moment. So look, last year I know you mentioned he's got 8 in the National League.
Yeah, it was 8 last season, wasn't it? We just had a look, didn't we? There's only 1 so far this season, 15 appearances.
Yeah, so obviously that's why we're getting him. If he was scoring 10-15, he's not coming to Scunthorpe, let's be honest. So we've had to take the risk. And look, going off his National League North record, I think it would be a good signing. But let's see what happens with Whitehall. Is that the end for Fishburn this season? It's 2 number 9s. I don't think we've got enough space in the squad for 3. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see.
And I should probably point out that the whole point of us believing it's Mark Beck is it's been all over Twitter. I think I don't know where that name came from, kind of left field, really, when I heard it. But, I mean, Luke Williams was the biggest shock.
I heard Joe Garner.
They love chucking him out, don't they?
We really are getting the band back together here.
Gary Hooper's like...
His phone's not
they're like, any chance? Or...
We're going to get 48. Oh, it's going to be brilliant. But
Beckford's like...
Saturday was a strange one. I remember being in the Doncaster Road end and Luke Williams was getting mentioned in near the exec, and it was Gareth who passed it across saying, "Probably Luke Williams is coming." And I went, "Luke Williams?" And then some guy behind me in the Donny Road end went, "Luke fucking Williams is coming back." And
it just spread like, well, I don't know where it came. Well, yeah, it was obviously accurate, wasn't it?
He said some guy on the turnstile told me, somebody heard it in the back. I'm like, right, it literally is wildfire. But look, he's over the line, and look, as long as they get signed, I don't care for what rumours are coming out. But no, it was funny, and it gave me a smile when the football really didn't give me a smile. So
tell me about it. Well, another thing that came out of Butler's interview, and it was probably his most passionate one yet. Actually, it was really intense at times, not in a negative way, but he was kind of really pitching his case and defending a lot of his tactics. One thing he said was he was adamant, this is not a 5 that we play at the back, it's a number 3. And I think this is the first time he's really come out to bat and address fans who are making this comment, us on this podcast, people on Twitter. I should say not everybody on this podcast, but people airing the views that at times, a lot of the time, it looks like a 5 at the back. Marco, I mean, you think it's 5. It is 5, isn't it? At times. It is a 3
you're playing a right back and a left back. If it wasn't a 3 at the back, you'd be playing a right winger and a left winger and saying, let's take it to him. But in reality, it's not, is it? You are playing a right back and a left back in a defensive line. So people like daft, it is a 5 when defending. Look, there's been a couple of games where it definitely has been a 3. But
Rush all at home, that was a 3.
Yeah, I say a couple of games, it's a couple of halves. You tend to see us two different teams in each half. But look, when Barrows gets a bit between the teeth and he does go forward, we saw it away at Spennymoor. He took his goal really well. Good finish.
How good has he been this season?
Barrows has been fantastic. And look, it's a position we didn't think at the start of the season. We said there was a couple of questions with Barrows. Is he good enough for this level at right back? I think he's completely blown us out of the water. I think he's shown that he is, and playing in a position he's not familiar to at right wing back. I think he's having a fantastic season. Denton sort of dropped off for me. For me, last year was our best. He was our player of the season. Again, it's hard to ask somebody who's not played the system before to go and attack. As a defender, he's done nothing wrong at all. But if you are playing this formation, we seem to be losing a lot of our attacking impetus. But look, like Butler says, if he thinks it's a free, it's a free. And it's worked for some games, but at home, it's very frustrating. And I've said it again. I keep saying I'm with all respect, but it is quite disrespectful against these lesser teams. You want to see us taking the game to him, and I feel like the best way to do that is to attack him with a 5. We don't seem to be doing it very well at the minute.
No, yeah, I would agree with a lot of what you said there. Okay, I am fans. The final thing we really wanted to say was something else that Andy Butler mentioned in his interview yesterday with Humberside, and the sad news really that Andy's father has got aggressive prostate cancer. Of course, we'd just like to say that everybody on the Iron Hour podcast sends our best wishes to Andy's father and Andy's family at this time, and of course we wish him all the very best and hopefully a speedy recovery. So we just wanted to finish with that message. So we are an Iron community at the end of the day, and we do genuinely send our best wishes.